Welcome again. Now we begin in Abuja, where the federal government may have had the last word on recent incidents at the nation's airports involving a ValueJet passenger, Wasiu Ayinde Marshall, a popular Fuji singer, and a passenger on Ibom airliner, Ms. Comfort Emmanson. Now, all charges have now been dropped against them both. Aviation Minister Festus Keyamo made the revelation on Wednesday. KWAM and Emmanson had dominated public conversations in the past few days. According to the minister, the resolutions were reached after reviewing the incidents, considering appeals from well-meaning individuals and considering the remorse shown by those involved. Keyamo revealed that Ibom Air has agreed to withdraw its complaint against Ms. Emmanson, who was arrested over the August 10 incident. On the ValueJet incident involving KWAM, the minister noted that the Nigerian that's the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, will reduce his ban to 1 month and engage him as an ambassador for airport security protocol. Now joining us for more insight into the latest development, we have aviation expert Olumide Ohunayo in Lagos here, and also Tonye Jaja, a lawyer from Maseru in Lesotho. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, let me start with Mr. Ohunayo. Some have called this a show of shame, a political solution to a basic matter that simple law enforcement could have handled. What's your take on this? Are you worried at all?
Yes, I am. I'm worried that although I was expecting it, but I thought they would allow the case to get to court, that of Wasiu and the other lady. Then thereafter, while they'll be able to prove to the world that yes, Aviation is ready to stamp out the issue of really passengers, then somewhere along the line, maybe the federal government pardon will come in. But I think what has happened now is too soon, and I'm sure it was because of just one man that we are seeing all this pardon that are going on all over. Again, I still do not understand how Wasiu would not be made an ambassador of aviation safety protocols. His crime were too grievous to be made to not make him an ambassador. I think they just have taken his apology and you've given him his pardon and let him just walk away while we try to build the protocol, the appropriate protocol processes for us to be able to prosecute unruly passengers and also reduce incidences of unruliness and unsafe procedures within the airport. Sadly, in all of this, is the airlines that still bear the brunt of the stick, because from what I've seen in the press release, he has subtly indicted Ibom Air there, and there are other litigations that private individuals are having against Ibom Air. So what happened to those litigations when you have withdrawn this and granting pardon to the ladies? So I think it wasn't well thought through. So whatever amends they can do, they need to do. But most importantly, it's time for the Federal Airport Authority, the airline security, and all the other civil aviation security architecture to come together now and work out appropriate modalities for handling unruly passengers. Obviously, they were not ready, and if this could happen in Lagos and Abuja, which are supposed to be our prime airports, it shows that we have a lot of work to do. What will happen if this has happened in the other smaller airports?
Now,
so go back now, go and work out the protocols, work out.
Now, Olumide, I'm going to come back to you regarding the extent of these crimes that were committed, especially, like you said, regarding KWAM. So we'll come back to that, but let me speak to Jaja now. Tonye Jaja, thanks for joining us. Now, why is clemency rather than prosecution the necessary step to be taken right now? As a lawyer, what do you think? Are we even sending the right message to global aviation regulators at this point?
Hello?
Yes, Jaja, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so from my angle as a lawyer, I think there's enough aviation laws in place. The question is whether we abide by this law, whether we implement them. So what has happened is what is the message you're sending across to people, to the citizens? Aviation law is a whole different area of law. Before I came on this program, I spoke with a retired air commodore who is into military aviation. These laws are put in place for the safety of passengers. You may not know this, but when in military aviation, even in civil aviation, when the president is flying, there are two fighter jets, one on the left, one on the right. Anyone who goes within that airspace, any aircraft can be shot down. These are laws to protect both civilians and the life of the president. So when you disobey these laws, look at the Air India incident. Just a single mistake by the pilot. Instead of switching on, he switched off the fuel supply, and how many lives were lost? So when they tell citizens or passengers, switch off your phone, it's a simple instruction. When takeoff, during takeoff, switch off your phone. You can always switch it back on after the pilot had taken off. It's for the safety of yourself and other passengers. So when these laws are disobeyed and there are no consequences, people are looking and learning that, well, I can do this and get away with it.
Thank you, Jaja. Olumide, let me come back to you. You talked about the details of the crime committed by KWAM, but I want us to juxtapose this against that of Ms. Emmanson. How different are these crimes, and which one actually weighs more? And how should it have been attended to? As an aviation expert, please. I seem not to be able to hear you, Mr. Olumide. We're going to check on our side and see if this is not our issue. But while we're trying to rectify the sound issue with you, Jaja, if you don't mind, could you take on that question then? How grievous were the crimes committed by KWAM as against what we saw with Ms. Emmanson?
Well, in the hierarchy of crimes, as a lawyer, there's felony and there's misdemeanor. Misdemeanor is a petty crime, not as serious as felony. According to the report, KWAM 1 poured whatever liquid on the pilot. To interfere with a pilot is a very serious offense, is a grievous offense, because the pilot holds the life of over 100 passengers in his hands. So imagine if you interfere with a pilot and something goes wrong, everybody goes down. So it's a very serious offense. To now make such a person an ambassador. An ambassador is a representative of a country or a company or an airline. What good example are you setting? Definitely by spilling liquid on the pilot, he's not setting a positive example. So the question is, can such a person be an ambassador? I have been on a flight. 45 minutes was supposed to be 45 minutes from Lesotho to Johannesburg. I was coming home on Christmas. Do you know that we spent 3 hours because of turbulence, bad weather? We couldn't even land in Johannesburg. We had to go to Botswana. Everybody was praying. We just had the pilot reassuring us, oh, don't worry, we are doing this. We flew until we ran out of fuel. We had to go to Botswana to refuel before we came back to Johannesburg. So a pilot is a very important person. So for KWAM 1 to interfere with a pilot and then he gets to be the ambassador, that's a joke taken too far.
It does seem strange. Thank you very much, Tonye. I'll get back to you. I think we have Mr. Olumide Ohunayo back. Mr. Olumide, are you back with us? I can see your visual, so I'm going to go right ahead and ask. Now, as an aviation expert, many people have been wondering exactly what the difference is when you're asked to switch off your phone, especially at takeoff and landing. Now, if you can explain to us what difference this makes if I put my phone on flight mode as against switching it off, since this seems to be the core of what happened. Please, if you would unmute your device, please. I think your device might be muted.
it's not muted.
Oh, go ahead.
It's
Now we
not
can hear you.
muted.
Now we
Can
can
you
hear
hear me
you.
now?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Let me put it this way. The word is switch off your phone and not in-flight mode. Well, it's not all phones that have in-flight mode. Also, some might tell you it's on in-flight mode and you cannot prove it's not on in-flight mode. We start asking every passenger to show you that the side that is in-flight mode. But the law and the regulation says switch off your phone. So, and that's why the crew abides by that switch off your phone, irrespective of the in-flight mode status on your phone. The word is switch off your phone. That's what the regulation says. So everybody must abide by that. And if anything happens, you remember that once when the crew is briefing, the briefing is also recorded. I'm a part of the cockpit recordings. They have all the briefings in of the crew. So if a crew now says by our own volition, she says you can use airplane mode, you have breached the regulation. And that's what the last time when I met, that's the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, when they went on strike, most of the scheduled airlines did not operate.
Now, Mr. Ohunayo,
private jets were going, but
Mr. Ohunayo, what is the difference? A switched off phone versus a phone on flight mode. Now, we know that they say there might be interference when it's on, but on flight mode, that interference, is it gone? We'd just like to know the technical differences.
Well, the technical difference has to do with the regulations itself. The regulation says clearly, phones should be switched off, not in flight mode. Phones should be switched off. That's what the regulation says.
All right, then.
So we should start testing what is applicable. Moreover, the insurance will deal with what the regulation says. And that's why the airline and the crew and the regulation says switch off. So that is what the industry stands on as of today.
Okay, then, Mr. Ohunayo. All right, Mr. Ohunayo, while you're still here, given that Ms. Emmanson faces dehumanizing treatment, does this withdrawal signal a shift towards balancing enforcement with the protection of passengers' dignity? And how might that shape future aviation disciplinary actions?
Well, like I said in my earlier presentation today, I think the industry was not been really prepared for unruly passengers who also would resist arrests, who would also would not voluntarily submit themselves to the security. The industry was not prepared for that, and that has to be worked upon. We've seen the fallout in the last two episodes. KWAM had no business being at that tarmac when that door was locked. Had no business being at that tarmac. When that door was locked, he would have been bonded up, but that was not done. And in the case of the lady in question, yes, the exposure may spoil things for them, but then I personally have no problem with the methodology because she did not submit herself to voluntarily leave the aircraft. Then she had to be taken off. But people easily go back to our recording that the aircraft was blocked. I also thought that blocking of the exit. The crew also risks her life by backing an unruly passenger and holding on to the door. That also wasn't appropriate. I think there's a waiting for the security, and if the security was not available, it would have called for backup among the airline staff to help in ensuring that the unruly passenger is kept cool pending the arrival of the aviation security. Holding that door and backing that door resulted in serious injuries on both the crew and the lady in question.
Mr. Ohunayo, you just stated very interesting facts here regarding her being held back from disembarking the plane. However, you did say that the method, you have nothing against the method. Let me come to Mr. Jaja here. Mr. Jaja, regarding the method, how would you define restraint? Do you think that Ms. Emmanson should have been at least put in handcuffs or at least maybe somehow maybe stopped from flailing about? Would that have changed anything?
Even in law, there's citizens' arrest. Is a form of arrest where a citizen can hold on to an offender until the police arrives. So you can restrain, you're entitled to restrain someone the best way you can. The expert in aviation has said it just shows a gap in training of airline officials. Maybe they were not trained on how to handle an unruly passenger, to restrain them until the security arrives. So I think that's.
So do you think the mode of extraction?
That,
do you feel the mode of extraction was appropriate?
Well, from a legal point of view, there's something called necessity. Because for the safety of the airline official herself, she had to restrain them. Then the officials had to take her off because she wasn't submitting herself voluntarily. So the circumstance, even a judge would take the circumstance into account. The comments on a lighter note, she was not wearing bra. So in the tussle, when her top went off, the bra that should have protected her was not there. So you don't blame the airline officials because they had given warning. There was a verbal warning. Even in administrative law, you give a verbal warning before you give a written query. So all these steps were taken. She was still unruly. So you do not blame the airline officials.
Giving us your expert opinion on the matter that has got Nigeria buzzing the past couple of days. Thank you very much, gentlemen.